And this is the Nobody Talks Shidduchim episode. Here is IJ, and Avery is here too. And we have two wonderful, fantastic guests here today, Mr. and Mrs. Chani and Yona, or Mr. Yona and Mrs. Chani, who are here. And we're going to discuss a couple things, looking back at it all. Now that they're married, now that they got over the finish line, now that they're in the promised land, they're looking back and giving us a little retrospect on what worked, what didn't work, and what what Avery should be doing better, right, Avery?
Well, aside from what I do better, I do a lot of things great, but I know that Yona and Connie have a lot of things to add to the conversation. Being married for a few months already, we wanted to get a couple who is newly married, who's been in Shidduchim for a few years, who has a factor of, one of them is from out of town. And we wanted to bring that perspective to the table. We haven't really had that many married people on the show. And the ones that we didn't like me. So we wanted to get people who are normal.
They still send you hate mail.
It's true, sadly.
So looking back after it all ended, right? Okay, you're dating. So much goes through your mind, okay? I'm so curious as a single guy, like, what worked? What didn't work? What would you change? What was the BS? What was the tachlis? And obviously, what better way to bring on a married couple to point some things out? Because Avery and I are still, our resumes are deep, deep, deep buried into the back, all the way at the end. Under the guys from Lakewood, from Minneapolis, and from Baltimore.
Yeah, I'm really curious to hear about, things that we should change. There's so many things out there that I know that I could do a lot better in terms of dating that I don't even know what I'm doing wrong. Especially things like a married person can tell me, this is what a girl wants to hear. This is what they want to know. This is how you should buy them a ring. This is when it's time to get engaged. This is when these are the factors that about.
So is there a playbook? Is there a playbook? Well, there is a playbook when you have a younger sibling,
right?
When you have an older sibling. Mm-hmm. So you get that playbook passed down to you.
Yeah, but most people want to do the opposite of their older sibling because usually they hate them.
Well, half the people want to do opposite. Half the people want to do the same, or somewhere around those percentages.
There's a good percentage that want to do a different thing than their sibling. There's nothing wrong with that. When you're in Brooklyn and you have 12 siblings, most likely they're going to be doing the same exact thing, hand me down the next one to the next one to the next one, till they're great grandkids and so on and so forth.
Zadie and Bubby.
Yep.
So, yeah, well, that's why I would feel like as a single guy, bringing in a married couple, now obviously it's from their perspective, so I don't really necessarily, that might have been subjective information, that's just apropos for their matziv, for what they had to go through. But generally, I'd like to be a better person, have that positive mindset and say, it probably works. I'll do whatever I can. It's good information because they got over the finish line.
And even if you don't learn something from them, you could still learn something from the fact that they're married and you're not, and you need to get married.
Yeah, but that's
their personal experience doesn't necessarily mean
they want to be me. Like, that guy's single and living it up.
That's a good question, though. Yeah, why?
I want to bring them on.
What is the great factor of getting married? So let's bring them on. Bring them in.
Welcome.
Put the cheers on. There you go.
Wait, this one, right?
There we go.
Welcome, Yona and Chani.
Thank you very much.
So, just to confirm to our listeners, you two are married.
Yes.
This is true.
You're not
5 months.
You're not being paid to say what Avery wrote for you on this podcast.
This wasn't part of the script.
But we actually know each other. That's why you guys wanted to come on, and we wanted to get your perspective, right? Yona, you've been dating for how many years?
4 or 5 years.
4 or 5. So we'll say 5 years.
Yeah, something like
5 years you're dating. Chani,
about 2.
You were dating for about 2, and that happens a lot. Like, that really happens a lot, where the guy is dating for years and years and years, and then 5 years go by like that, and a girl 2 years 2 years are dating, I wonder why. It's a topic to talk about. You know, maybe the girls are like, they're more serious. They want to get to the tachlis, or you know, I don't know. I don't know what it is. So, you know, these guys, they're learning in yeshiva. They're going to college. They're they're doing something that it just stretches out for so long. And then these 1 and 2 and 3 year comes in and they're like, all right, I'm snatching this guy up. Is that how it happened, Chani?
Not quite. No.
Okay, well,
I think if Yona had met me 2-3 years earlier, he would not have liked me. I was not the same person. I was very childish. I think there's a time and a place for everything, and everyone's got their own time. And, you know, I think with everything in life, this is actually one of the points that I wanted to emphasize very strongly here. I think it's important for everyone, married, not married, the mother of someone, married or not married, the father, whatever your relationship is to other people in this world, pretty much. The same way that what we call the Shidduch system is a man-made system, there's nowhere in the Torah that brings it down. I think that what we call the Shidduch crisis is also a man-made crisis perspective.
Yes.
Yes, 100% agree with that. Yes. I don't know about I just agree with that, but
I blame mankind.
No, it's not
good
man.
For you.
Shidduch privilege.
Well, just to piggyback on that point for a minute, I think that there is some sentiment that the Shidduch system is really an individual system where people who blame the system don't really understand that it's them who need to change. You know, everyone likes to say the system is wronging me, you know, and it happens mostly for girls and mostly for parents of girls. And a lot of times for the guys too, because I have friends who are like, yeah, I can't get a date and I'm stuck at home and the system is killing me. The system is whatever you make of it. You know, you put your effort into getting married. It could be from, 1,000 different things. You have to, stop looking at marriage as the end all be all and live a life where your ambition is incorporating marriage, yes, but it's doing a lot of other things. So having said that, what was your, Shidduch and Shadchan experience from the beginning of dating? Like what was your goal and what did you think of starting dating? I'm very curious to hear from, each of you what it was like just at the beginning and what you first thought.
Just sum it up. Just take afterward. 5 and 2 or 3 years. Just sum it up.
So, I mean,
Chani did so really well. Great job. We got to applause, Avery. Great job.
Thank you.
So, I mean, the dating process, I think, it's, first of all, it's very, very individual, as you were saying. Like, it's
very subjective, yeah.
It's extremely subjective. There's no one size fits all for everybody. You got to do whatever works for you. You also have to be reasonable about it. And I think, if you're going in with the wrong mindset and you're going in, looking for reasons why this date didn't work, then you're gonna be on a spiral downhill. You need to go in with a focus on making things work, with a focus on I'm going to do the best I can, and if this date doesn't work, okay, on to the next. Move on, get your life together, and do whatever you can to bring yourself to your ultimate goal. And if you keep your eye on the ball, you'll get there.
Right. And how do people like that handle rejection, though? I know that's a huge factor within IJ's dating, but a lot of people have that factor of rejection and getting, rejected by girls or guys rejecting them based on whatever factor it is, looks, it's money, it's their career. How did you personally handle these things as they came up?
So, I mean, my personal experience, this was something that I always hammered into myself from before I even started dating. I had seen, some of my friends who were dating for a while, and obviously it's really difficult and it's very tough, and I don't judge anybody. People who are dating, especially for a long time, it's very tough, and they get very downtrodden and very, they become very bitter. And I've seen that with good friends who I really respect and like, who I'm watching them and they're torturing themselves. So from the outset, I told myself, there is no way I will allow myself to be that person. I consciously, throughout my dating experience, hammered it into myself that when something bad happens, something bad happened. It's not my dating experience. This one bad thing happened. That's not going to sum up my whole life. That's not going to sum up my dating experience. I'm going to move on to the next person, and that one's going to be awesome. And honestly, I was able to look at situations where maybe other people would have said, oh, come on, I really liked that girl and she said no to me, what the heck? Or I really had a miserable time. And I was able to come out of it and say, okay, listen, I had a great time meeting this new person, had great conversation, and I'm really building my own confidence in dating. Or on the flip side, if it was a bad date, say, okay, it happens. You know what? You learn from the bad dates how to handle yourself in that kind of situation. And my biggest thing before I started dating was I was afraid that I wasn't going to be able to talk on dates. That was my biggest fear. And my first date, I learned on that date right away, my first date ever, I learned, wow, I can keep conversation going the entire time. You learn things.
Avery has the exact opposite problem.
I can't talk on dates.
Can't talk.
I can't talk. And
you see how you just took a serious monologue and turned it into
that's
levity.
That's
I like what you said, and I would sum that up, Yona, that don't let the Shidduch system get on top of you. You gotta get on top of that Shidduch system. Get on top of it, girl. Yeah. Get on top of it, son. You can do it. But very well said.
Thank you.
Did you ever blame the Shadchan though? Like if they were, because we all know some bad Shadchanim out there, some people who don't care, and they start judging and dealing with you differently. Did you ever have that blame the Shadchan mentality?
Only when they actually did something that was uncalled for. Mm-hmm.
Which happens a lot.
Yeah, for sure. As a general rule, I do not do well with being told what to do. And if I would go back in time and do things differently, probably the main thing I would change is just not going to see as many Shadchanim as I did. I didn't go to see a ton, but I never appreciated the experience. Even if they were kind and considerate people who are really out there to help, I didn't appreciate it. And sometimes it wasn't avoidable. They would call my mom and say they wanted to meet me, at which point they didn't do anything wrong. So I felt bad just turning them down, or a friend would make an appointment for me and then tell me about it afterwards, at which point I also felt bad. But the one time I actually went out with someone and then was angry at the Shadchan afterwards was when she went and told the guy that I wanted to go out again after I had said, let me clear up one thing first. And then I cleared up that one thing and did not want to go out again. But
well, there's a blame the Shadchan scenario. There's a lot of that out there. I don't always get along with my Shadchanim. I don't always agree with the method of what they're doing. They sometimes, obviously they have the best wishes. They want the best for the Shidduch. They want it to happen. And they're as biased as anybody you've ever met because they just want
have
the
a personal
check.
stake in it.
Obviously, right. They
very,
do.
Very personal.
It doesn't come from a bad place, but we've mentioned before, they do have this capacity to really mess up Shidduchim.
So I also had one blame the Shadchan situation. In general, I didn't. I had one situation where it was one of my best dating experiences in terms of the girl. Had an amazing time, went out on a bunch of dates. I really, really liked her. I wasn't seeing it going. I wasn't seeing it going anywhere for whatever reason, but I really liked the girl. And I started expressing doubts as to how to move forward. The Shadchan was pushing me to move forward. My mom was pushing me, and it turned into such a fiasco at the end because the Shadchan was giving me advice on how to handle, and in a not very nice way. She was basically berating me and telling me that I broke this girl's heart and whatever. And she was really just making me feel like garbage. Mm-hmm. And I ended up speaking to my Rabbi about it. I told him the whole situation. When I told him that I'm still going out with this girl, but I don't know what to do, he's like, why are you still going out with her? He's like, no, you need to end it. He's like, listen, let me tell you something. The Shadchan, I'm sure she means well, but she wants to make a Shidduch. Your mom, I'm sure she means well, but she wants you to get married. And also, they're both women. They don't understand guys.
They don't understand us. They just want the grandkids, and that's it. I mean, you can't win with these people.
The Rabbi's perspective, a lot of times, IJ and I know, the Rabbiim are ahead of the curve. They have no interest except to see you.
Very ahead.
Some of them. I mean, except for the ones that want to be Masada Kedushin and get their paycheck. A lot of they're really
I am a former Masada Kedushin. I'm just letting you know. Yeah, it is. It's well, I think you always have to be able to click with the Shadchan, get to know them on a personal level. Make sure they have your goodwill. But I mean, everyone gets into the rut eventually, and they're just so desperate, and they're like, send me resumes. You get into that mental breakdown, and you just can't go forward. So it's nice to have a Shadchan who will be looking out for you in that situation. Let me ask you guys, family experiences, looking back, because we're always discussing, Avery and I, about the family dynamic, when to do this, when to do that, so I've always found that, and Avery and I actually, this is one thing we could relate to, is we never know how much information we got to tell our parents and when, because it just doesn't really. It never ends well, does it? I mean, your mom, my mom. Oh my God.
Yep.
So talk to Uncle IJ about that.
I think one of the best things that happened during my dating career was one Shadchan who I met, who I got along great with, and my mom did not. So she became my problem completely, and that was great because I enjoyed speaking to her. My mom didn't want to. So there was this direct line of communication. There was no triangle. Whoever hears one thing first has to report into two people or reports into one who then reports to the next. It was just so much easier that way. I found in general that adopting a similar pattern to school works well with dating, where you don't have to tell your parents everything that happens when they're not there.
Yep. I put my report cards in my closet and never saw them again. Same way.
Pretty much. Just tell them you got into college and you're fine.
I'm going to do that with my next date.
You should.
Yeah.
And we never saw her again.
No, but in general, parents.
So we did to Miss D.
We have to cut down. Okay, go ahead. Look, can you let the lady talk?
All right, continue.
It's all good. I talk a lot.
okay.
That was also a problem.
Oh,
with dates.
good. That's good for the podcast.
Well, you know, I like that. You just brought something up there. You know, if you're loquacious, that means talkative. Why can't why can't we just talk? You know,
Yona was the first guy where I didn't have to feel like I had to tone it down or I would overwhelm him.
So that's something people need to realize and kind of register. Take some time, like. You know, they give that feedback, Shadchanim, parents, friends. I mean, don't get me started. And you're like, look, this is who I am. If it clicks, it will click. If it will work, if it's meant to be, it'll be meant to be. But those are very tough things to really articulate towards a loved one or someone who's on top of you all the time. You know, or even the Shadchan, love them or not hate them. You know,
it's very important to be yourself. That's what I think. I think that like one thing I dealt with like throughout my dating was that I as you guys know, I have a very quirky, funky personality. I dress weird.
We don't know that.
You're a superstar in our book.
You're
so
a superstar, right? I always say, I always
come
tell
on.
I said, as long as Yona is single, it's okay. Now I'm in trouble. Now I'm like, dude,
you were on the reserves.
I'm a few months overdue now.
Oh snap! Don't worry, IJ.
Take that turkey out of the oven.
Yeah, well, afterwards we'll talk. I do
but he's
on the
you know
side.
what he's on.
We actually do.
He happens
I'm going to
to
check out your LinkedIn right now. Oh no!
Listen, I always say I made 3 shidduchim. Now I like they say it's a ticket to Olam Haba. Like I can eat pork. Now
Did you
I'm
really?
like,
Did you really make three shidduchim?
I did.
It happens to be IJ was onto something though. He's like, yeah, some people when you see them get married, you're not necessarily the happiest for them. You see this 20-year-old kid come back from Israel, living in his parents' guest house on their paycheck, has their American Express card, doesn't have an individual life.
Fried chicken all day.
I don't know if
not getting fatter.
the superficial person in me can't be so happy.
It
The
depends.
selfish person, I cannot be as happy as I am for another person because this is what I see. Yes, ultimately you should be, but
I will kill you if
I
you get
hear
married,
you.
Avery. I will
Yeah.
kill
I
you.
hear what you're saying, but it depends. I'm saying if it's because if you're not happy because you think this person's not going to last, then you're not happy because you feel bad for them.
That's
but
exactly
if you're not happy because you're a little bit jealous, well then maybe that's a you problem and not
You
their
would
problem.
want that?
no, I would go with the first part.
Then
the
I
latter
hear
is
that.
not the thing.
Then I
no,
totally
I'm
hear
not
that.
jealous. No.
Well, everyone wants to.
Depending on what she
everyone
looks like.
wants to relate. People get very regimented. Normalize things and make it conventional and say, okay, well, that one makes sense and that one makes sense. I mean, we talked about it one time before. Like then Jaime across the street, he gets engaged and that just ticks it off, especially with girls. I'm sure girls have that problem all the time. It's that one girl that just gets engaged and you just snap and you're like, can't flam it.
But
that's a Hey Arnold line.
on the other end, when we heard that you got engaged, we were actually extremely happy, and
We know you worked hard.
We want to
He
know.
worked hard, this guy.
we want to know like,
Mrs. Hani.
everything about it.
Worked hard.
How you guys met, how you guys knew you were the ones, what separated you from getting married to the next person. And let's discuss that a little bit after we go to a break, how you personally, got each other to know that this is the person you want to marry. What were the signs? What were the factors? So let's get to that after we take a short break.
Hey, listeners, it's IJ from the Nobody Talks Shidduch podcast. I wanted to take a moment to tell you about Greenpoint Podcast Studio. It's where we record. We record there every single episode. It is a beautiful, newly renovated, brand new, right in the heart of Greenpoint in Brooklyn. And it's basically a little bit close to Williamsburg, just a few minutes from Flatbush, Borough Park. If you're in Queens, it's close to there. And hey, if you're in the Five Towns or New York City, it's just a quick 25 to 35-minute drive away. So you can follow them or get in touch with them by going to greenpointpodcaststudio.com to book your next podcast session. Wow. Some great words of wisdom as usual, Avery. God bless you, child. So we're still here with Chani and Yona, and we're chatting about looking back at it all, getting the perspective of the couple. And I just want to reassure our voters, voters.
Thanks, Joe Biden.
Our voters, our listeners here. I want to read the shot, listening to too much news. We're just doing this episode because we want you to just see two people who have been there and now are out of it. And they've been emanating, happiness and light, and it's going to work out. But you're there so deep in the dirt, it's really tough to see. So we're getting to the hot topics, as Wendy Williams would say. Hot topic. I don't know, is she around anymore? I don't know. Avery, you watched that.
She got me.
You watched
too.
that crap. So we're gonna get to these real questions. I think that at any age you need to hit up upon. So real challenges singles face as relationships continue is very big, right? You're kind of out of that stage 1, stage 2 process where we talked about, you're out of the friendship zone, or you're out of the stranger zone, and then you're friends, right? And now you're starting to like each other. Where do you go? What do you do? Tell me how it worked with you guys. Tell me what you recommend. How do you just start showing signs or hinting maybe, here are some things coming up, like to see if we can create this real relationship, whether it's challenging or whether it can make us stronger.
Sure. So one of the things that I found was really important to think about, and I actually freaked out that I wasn't thinking about these things, is, as you actually start to like a person and you're getting, dates in the double digits and weeks and the months are piling up, and you're starting to think, am I thinking of everything that I should be thinking? And am I looking out for the things that are really important to me? And nobody wants to get to a place where they find themselves having to end a relationship because of something that they or the other person feels like should have been brought to attention much sooner. And then there's also the concept of reciprocity that sometimes people are very uncertain about. What I mean is kind of mirroring the other person's feelings about the relationship, not even in terms of faking it, but just so that they don't feel like they're just giving into the void. If the other person seems to like you and you have no reason not to reciprocate. It can be really hard to be the first one. You might feel like, you're being too out there, putting yourself out there too much. You might scare the other person away. But I find that being in tune with your own feelings is a great way to kind of tap into the other person's feelings, because if you're aware what you're projecting, you can have a better idea of what it is that they're picking up and then read how they're reacting to that.
And you're saying whether you like them or not?
Obviously, if you don't like them.
Be honest.
Be honest, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Just be honest.
Yes.
Now, can you actually tell the girl, like, look, I'm just not there yet. I need more time. I mean, you're going to say that to the Shadchan. But
that's a really good question. Thank God I was never in that position.
You want to get dumped, you'll tell her that.
Right.
What are you, nuts?
But hey,
you can't tell her that. You can get dumped.
Well, I think for our younger listeners who they don't have that option. They're so young, and they know they have to commit 3, 4, 5
when
days.
they're so young, they just want to be told that this is it. We're getting married. They're young and dumb. Young and dumb is called young and dumb for a reason.
I was young and dumb once.
One thing that really worked to my advantage, at least, was that both Yona and I had birthdays while we were dating.
Oh,
and Yona's came first.
Oh,
so
wow.
I was the first
How
one.
long
took initiative?
How long into dating?
Like 2 weeks.
Okay,
Ooh.
2 weeks. That's quick.
What did she get you, Yona?
How many dates is 2 weeks?
Coolest thing ever.
Give us the intricacy.
Hey, so first of all, I think that one of the coolest things is the fact that not only did we both have birthdays and get each other's presents while we were dating, But that immediately after getting each other's presents was when things took a turn for each of us. When Chani got me a present, right after that date was when she started to feel like this was maybe going somewhere. And it took me a little longer. Right after I gave her, I actually like made, Chani got me.
Slaved, Yona. Slaved.
Slaved. So Chani got me a really cool gift. Chani got me, and she didn't give it to me till the end of the date, so I totally wasn't expecting it. She got me a 6-pack of lemonade flavored beer with like, she got these like cool bows that were like, they were like, think like a bow that's actually like as manly as a bow will get. It was made of like canvas, like a potato sack sort of thing.
It was meant to be a bow tie.
Well,
It was meant to be a bow tie.
see,
that
but you
qualm
paid
went
attention to what he likes. You paid attention to what interests him. And you said, okay, I'm going to do what he likes and try and get on his affirmative side and, you know, create a relationship based on that. And that's kind
I
of
love that.
the courtship.
I love that.
The courtship. I went out with a
Exactly.
girl when I was going out with a girl seriously during Corona. She made me sugary chocolate chip cookies. And I mentioned to her, I don't eat that. I can't eat this stuff. I'm
I don't eat that
gluten
stuff.
free, whatever it is. I can't eat this stuff. Of course, she was, I don't know if he was testing me or just wanted to poison me. I don't know which one. Probably the latter, as most girls did. But that wasn't the reason I ended it, obviously. But still, you know what they like.
Those cookies
Pay
were
attention
delicious.
to what the other person is saying. That's
Right.
so important, I think. You know, for
I love
dating.
that idea. That's great. So that works out. So I would tell people 2 things from that scenario you just laid out there. So first of all, when you're getting a girl's Shidduch resume, you're like, I want to marry this girl no matter what. And it happens to us all. You know, it does, wink. Wait till her birthday. That's good. You know, wait till like the 2 weeks before the birthday. Now, here's the thing, actually, because I've done this before. If it's not her birthday and it's like, you know, it happened so long ago and it ain't happening for like, you know, it ain't happening for 6 months and it was 6 months
It's her
ago,
half
you know,
birthday.
just get her something anyway and just be like, happy birthday. And she's like, oh my God, is this going on? No, it's not my, okay. But like, it'll work. It'll work. I'm telling you. It'll
Let
work.
me know
Great
how
idea,
that
right?
goes for you.
Well, you know, it was 3 dates in and, you know, it didn't work out.
Yeah. Not all girls like
True
gifts.
story.
Not all guys like gifts also.
Hey, you have
That
to
is
know.
true.
You have to know
You
your
know who
customers.
you're going out with.
You have to know your customer. It happens to be with our situation. She, you know, Chani knew that I love beer, and she knew that I like cherry wheat beer. So she was like, "Oh, let's get him a flavored funky beer." Then, like with the thing that I got like a
What
navy
did you
blue
get her?
sweatshirt, and then I basically pulled an all nighter the night before,
Hand
making
embroidery.
making
Wow.
a logo.
Oh, you made it? Oh,
So I
wow.
made a
Oh,
logo
dang.
on the thing of a
Okay.
kite because I know that she loves flying kites.
We are not on that Madriga yet. Me and IJ, we are not there.
We're signed up for classes, though.
I'm on, yeah.
We're going to sign up for the class.
Listen, I gotta tell you, they say that ahava.
Just texting a girl is tough
The
already.
word ahava comes from hav, to give.
Oh,
Honestly,
hav.
I really like you give, and it really builds feelings. It's
I love
crazy.
that. I love that. So give. So you guys, I feel like you guys had a lot of chemistry. Things were going at that point. I don't know, before, you know, it was shaky. What were some of those struggles now, you know, after that, like that you were running into before, you know, maybe after that? Was there anything, or was it easy breezy?
Was this like the sign? Yeah.
So
Was there a sign? Was there did Mufasa come out of the sky and say, Yona
Lives
Simba?
in you.
Yes, this is the one.
So actually, for me, it wasn't. So even by that point, even when I got her present, so I liked her all along in the sense that I
would hope
really,
so.
No, in some cases,
I
don't.
know.
In some
After
cases,
all
it's not
those
so
just
simple.
messing.
But in this situation, happens to be. So I liked her all along. I really enjoyed spending time with her, and I really thought that there was a lot of potential. But I was always nervous of like, are we going to get to the point where I feel comfortable with her? You know, and even like up until that point with the with that present, like literally up until that point, I was unsure. The date the funny thing is the date when everything took a turn, I think it was our 9th date, and that was right after I gave her the present the night before. That date that I gave her the present, it wasn't?
No.
Remind me.
It was around then.
You gave me the sweatshirt right after that date.
Right after
right
the
when
date.
you were dropping me
Right,
off.
right, right. No,
But you still had it in your trunk,
but I'm
so you
saying
knew
I-
you were going to give it to me.
I gave
Has
it
this
to
You
guy
had
ever
already
heard
pulled
of
an all-nighter.
I had,
imprint.com?
right. That's what it is. But then the date before that, it wasn't a bad date. I started to get really nervous. Like, okay, I still like her, but I started like to sense more awkwardness, more of like silences and whatever.
Yeah.
And I actually came home. I was like, I don't know what to do. Like I'm definitely interested in going out with her again, but I don't know if this continues for much longer. I don't know what to do.
And you gave her the present at that point already? She had
I
the
gave
present?
her the present.
Yeah, you say, I've been there. I
gave
know what
her
you're
the
saying.
present.
Right. You give him the present.
How difficult was it to
Yes.
give it to her though? Like just as a person, was it difficult to give it to her? Was it like
No, it
tough?
wasn't difficult. It
No?
wasn't difficult.
It was just like
Because
at
sometimes-
the end of the date, here you go, sayonara.
No, because sometimes taking steps, doing something
For sure,
that you
no, I
won't need to do
For
to
sure,
change.
no, I totally
There
hear
is
you.
a level of like, fear of like, can I do this? Fear
Hey,
of
I spent
success.
all night making that thing. I was not about to back out.
Well, that's that's it.
My mom actually put me in touch with a dating coach who I spoke to. She was really good, really, really nice, and had really good advice. But she ultimately told me, she gave me like two sort of conflicting pieces of advice, but that she said they're both important. And then she told me, but you're fine. Don't worry about it. Hatzlacha, everything is good.
But you're fine.
And I was
That's
like,
more
what?
conflicting than the other two pieces of advice.
We went out that next date, and I did not have to use the advice. It was just, I just felt so at ease, so comfortable. I started to just really feel like, okay, this is going somewhere. I really, really, I really, really like her, and I really feel comfortable around her. And it was such a drastic difference. So that's why, I always tell people, if you're feeling just like awkward and like a difficulty connecting, that alone is not a reason to end it. If you're really feeling just like, I don't want to see this girl again, then that's a different story. But if you're just feeling like, I really like her, but I'm just not feeling that connection, it literally can change the next date and like completely flip around.
And Connie, what were your thoughts during this whole?
Oh, I was oblivious to all of it.
No
There was
clue.
No
No
difference
idea anything
between
was
those
going
two
on.
dates. I actually gave him the beer thinking that I might never see him again just because of a conversation.
Well, you give
that
a guy
we had
alcohol,
had.
you can expect him to leave.
Basically, what you're telling me is like when it doesn't go your way, it's a bust. But you know what? Isn't that how the girls feel most of the time? Like they don't set up the date. They don't have any control.
I
right?
would say,
Avery lost control here, and this is a lot of the girls are dealt that plate.
so honestly, I think a lot of it is not, deliberate inconsideration or deliberately being stupid. I kind of wish I had known we were going miniature golfing before wearing heels on a date.
Nice, not nice.
Yeah. So that would have been appreciated, but I didn't consider that guy to be inconsiderate. And in general, what I found that, just made dating easier and made that whole era, 2 years easier to look back on is I always tried to find it within myself to acknowledge that the person who I just went out with was a quality person, even if they were weird, honestly. Like that
You're a good person.
it's not about them. It's about me, honestly. They were never going to know that I said that about them. But, unfortunately, we all get set up with creeps.
Unless they listen to this episode.
It's
Hey,
bad,
maybe.
there
Then they'll
are
hear
creeps.
it.
We've had
there
that.
are creeps.
There are
we all
creeps, and
meet
there's
them.
this bad dynamic. But definitely, the girls have a lot more contact with a lot more creeps, being having to go out with guys. So that's we can't say that. We can't say, sprints to that. We pass.
Straight up.
She's a creep. No, we can't say that. It's like, just
But was she?
she wasn't put together. She wasn't put together.
Oh, man. Let's talk about the light at the end of the tunnel.
Light at the end of
while
the tunnel.
you were
yeah.
dating, maybe.
Do a lightning.
Since we're in the
Just
tunnel.
like hit up some spots. Be
We
like,
are
this
in the
good,
tunnel.
that bad, that interesting, that not interesting.
Okay, so I have a general dating philosophy, which is that dating is hard enough. Don't make it harder for yourself. Honestly, you literally and I know this is the most cliche advice and everybody says it, but it's so true. You really just got to live in the moment. You got to enjoy it. And you also have to there's certain things that people do. I'll give you some examples of things that people do that make life difficult for themselves unnecessarily.
Making a podcast.
Making a podcast. Terrible idea. Shut it down,
Avery,
IJ. Shut it down.
Did you bite me? Because I feel like I have all these Avery lines today.
No, but seriously.
Are you a Libra? What are you? Gemini?
Me? I'm Jewish.
I do not want you to prove that.
a lot of things? First of all, people tend to limit themselves a lot. And when I say limit yourself, I know everyone says don't limit yourself. And then you say, you don't know me. You don't know what's good for me. That's true. I'm not giving you very specific advice on what not to limit yourself on. You know you better than anybody else. But you need to be aware that you might be making decisions because you think that it's the ideal situation. For example, based on looks, you have a specific hair color that you like, specific eye color. The point is, I'm not telling you to go out with a girl who you're not attracted to, but are you really telling me that you are only attracted to girls with that hair color? If it's true, then okay, you do you. But really know, like you really need to know for yourself. Just acknowledge, like, is this an ideal situation or is this necessary? With age also. Age, a lot of people have also misconceptions that they need to get out of their head. A girl who's 3 months older than you, I promise you, she's not any different than the average girl who's 4 months younger than you.
And if she is, it's not because of her age.
Exactly. Exactly. There are certain things that are important, but certain things you need to be willing. I'll give you an example. I went out with two girls.
At the same time?
Not at the same time. Thank God. That
On
would've been
different
really awkward.
on the same day?
Not on the same day.
Would have been brutal.
Different years.
I think different years.
Okay.
Even.
Oh, different.
Even different
Okay,
years.
so there's
Anyhow,
okay. So,
you only have to girl.
so 2 different years. Okay, go.
2 different years, 2 different girls, 2 different dates. They had been previously married. They were 2 of the best girls that I'd ever dated. And it wasn't for me. It was like, initially when I started dating, I was like, oh, would I date a girl who was divorced? And I thought about it and I was like, why not? Why not? I went out with these 2 girls, 2 of the prettiest, nicest, sweetest girls I ever dated. Besides, this is obviously, Chani is number 1.
Tell you me away. Yeah.
But
She was kicking
But
his
I
leg.
gotta tell you,
and
these were
said,
2 really quality girls who I dated, and I had a great time with them. And had I decided that just because they were previously married, I'm not going to go out with them, I would have been depriving myself of a good experience. And the reasons it didn't work out were because they said no to me, not because I said no to them.
Yeah.
And it wasn't meant to be, and that's great. But the point is that ultimately, I was willing to go out again with them, which means that the whole thing about them being divorced meant nothing. At the end of the day, it meant nothing. You have to look into things. You have to know what the situation is. Okay, fine. But don't limit yourself unnecessarily. And also, stop blaming the system, as we said before. Don't blame other people, other things. You need to focus on your end goal. You need to believe that your zivug is out there, and you need to go for it. And you need to stop putting the blame on other people and stop putting blame on anybody. There's no blame. If something doesn't work out, nobody's to blame. It just wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's one of the key factors of why we even did this podcast is because, we didn't want to start blaming other people. And we wanted to just say like, hey, look, people have a podcast where they can discuss some of their issues and how other people can learn from not blaming the system and talk about it and talk about real issues and how to real solutions to issues as opposed to what people do in these editorials to say, yes, this is how life should be and we should live in this box and blah, blah, blah. Anyhow,
Yeah, that's
Connie.
why. And we wanted to meet cute girls, of course, also. But yeah,
Hopefully that will get you good places.
Yay. And I love what you said there, Yona. Don't limit yourself based on ... I forgot what the rest was, but that was really good. That was really powerful, right? But do you think at least like you do need to have a top 3, top 5 priority list? Is that for
100%.
I mean, it shouldn't be like if you're like a blondophobia. You have blondophobia, so it can't be a blonde girl. Okay, so you're a blondophobic. That's fine. The point is imperative things.
Make sure
imperative
that
things.
those imperative things are actually imperative and that you're not just being picky. And
Oh,
only
yeah,
you know if you're being picky. Nobody else can
Yes.
tell you if you're being picky. Some people, sometimes yes, but like only you really know at the end of the day whether or not you're being picky or whether this is just actually something you can't handle.
So eating corn syrup, Avery, is not imperative.
Honestly, that's almost a cardinal sin.
Okay, go. You were continuing.
But yeah, I mean, just also some things like people like to be offended by things that someone says, everyone's, it's the classic, like, Mirz Hashem by you, soon by you, all of that. People say these things and everyone's like, oh, it's so horrible when people say that. It's so annoying. They should stop. Okay, can it be annoying sometimes? Maybe. But look at this person who's saying it to you now. They're giving you a compliment. They're saying, they're giving you a bracha. They're saying, Mirz Hashem, I hope that you're going to get married soon.
Yeah.
They're not trying to annoy you. So if it grates at your nerves, realize that that's a you problem. That's not a them problem. And say amen and thank you and be positive. Make yourself smile. Force yourself to smile as much as possible. Like after I would come back from dates that were bad dates, I actually did this in the car. I would literally smile to myself and say verbally so that you could hear it if you were in the car. I would say, Baruch Hashem, thank you so much. And it's not because I'm a tzaddik. It's not because like
He's a tzaddik.
He's a tzaddik. And I will talk on behalf of the non-tzaddikim there. And I hate that. And anyone who tells me that nonsense, go shove it. Okay, kneel down and kiss my feet, whatever, protest you want to do. I'm serious. I'm talking on behalf of the singles out there. I clearly can't see the light at the end of the tunnel.
So these were all things, by the way, this is very important. Everything that I've said, all the opinions that I have are things that I said and believed when I was single. So it's not just like, I'm married now, easy for you to say. These were things that I was aggressive about with my friends. I would have these conversations and I would be like, no, stop being a bitter single. I would be really aggressive about it when I was single. So like,
Chani, is this the same for the girls?
Oh, it's person specific, really. I mean,
Subjective.
Yonah told me about all his views on our first date, so I can vouch that they existed long before he left the
good. We're
single
doing
life.
some vetting. We have some
Always
rogue
check your
FBI
facts.
agents on it.
The
as well.
references didn't mention his views.
No, not
Okay.
really. But kind of like also what Yonah said, smiling when you're not feeling it is not called being fake. It's called doing yourself a favor. And I really think that when people are walking around and they look like their life sucks, it's not really going to inspire other people to either want to join their life or suggest to somebody else that they join that person's life. And kind of like what I was saying before, where I don't know how detailed I went into this actually, but I'll say it now. Everyone has a different time when they get to hit certain milestones. In the same way, not every kid loses their tooth on the first day, and not everyone gets a job on the first day that they want it. People are waiting for things a lot of times longer than they thought they would, and realizing that a life that they wanted is not all it's cracked up to be. If you get to do a solid few years of the single life, make it rock your life. Or you rock the single life. Whichever way works best for you, do that. It makes such a difference. And hopefully God will get everyone out of the single life before it gets too old for them. But if it doesn't, keep it young.
Amen.
Wow, that's great, powerful. And
great.
I know I'm
Beautiful,
looking
beautiful
for,
words.
I see the light of the at the end of the tunnel for myself in terms of dating. It's just, I could just see the day when I have a girl there cooking for me and a kid playing ball with. That's what it's about. That's what it's about, right, Ajay?
And starting the new podcast.
I don't know about the marriage
Avery's
part, but the
married, now
cooking
what?
and the basketball, that's important, yeah.
Well,
Are you going to agree with her on everything? Because we don't.
Hey, that's
True
good,
story.
though. Hey, you don't
Yeah.
want to agree.
100%.
Agreement is not
we should
always a good thing.
have you
IJ and
back.
I have 1,000 different disagreement points, but we still do a podcast, and that is why
This
we
is
can actually
true.
work
We really
together.
Agree, don't fight.
I'm convinced from these two that there is light at the end of the tunnel. You can look back and actually, look at that time spent as a single person with a positive approach, positive perspection. And, I'm hoping to get there. I'm honestly not there, and I don't know if I could get there. So you're not alone over there. Hopefully you can get there and take Avery with you. So in closing, we will go to our esteemed guests. And what are you going to leave our audience off with?
So, I have two things that I wanted to mention. One is, first of all, one thing I've seen, which I think is a huge mistake, is a lot of people out there, and my mom is a Shadchan, Queen Shadchan. What's up, guys? Look her up.
Do you want to advertise
She is a
her?
great
Shadchan.
Shadchan. So
Queen
Yeah,
Shadchan at
well,
gmail.com.
we know. Yeah. Okay, so everyone, his mom is Queen Shadchan. Yes,
Indeed.
Can you
So-
give her can you say the full name?
Yeah. My mom's name is Hindi Laster. She works with a partner. Her name is Chaya Kaplowitz. They're both really, really good in my opinion. And listen, I had to deal with them for, during my dating time. So I could have had a lot of negative things to say, but Baruch Hashem, they were really good. And I've also heard, all the craziness that goes on. And unfortunately, one of the things that I've heard is it's definitely okay. I did this. It's definitely okay for a parent, for your mom, let's say, to handle your shidduchim in the sense that they're getting suggestions and they're sort of, they have a good idea of what you're looking for, and sometimes they know for sure this is not for you based on what you've told them, and they consult with you and whatever. That's fine. But sometimes out there are parents who take control of their kids' shidduchim, and the kids have nothing to do with their own decisions, and the parents are saying, are just nixing or saying yes on their behalf, and they're either not telling them or they're just like, yeah, you're going out tonight with this girl, and it's like, you can't do that. Like, I know you're trying to help parents, but like, and singles, don't let that happen.
Yeah.
Don't let that happen. It's your life. You are getting married.
Take
not
control,
them.
baby.
And they mean well. They mean well, but ultimately they're making decisions based on their own perspective, not yours. And then one quick other thing.
Oh, okay, go ahead. No, take as long as you want.
While we were, I believe it, Connie, was it when we were engaged or when we were like almost
Like
there?
right before.
Right before we got engaged. So we listened to a shir together in the car, which was so tremendous. It's you look up on YouTube, you could find it. It's the 10 Commandments of Marriage by Rabbi Ben Sion Klatzko. It is phenomenal. It really puts into perspective like what a marriage should look like, and it's just raw. It's real. It's like, and we both like left that shir feeling like, wow, like it's transformative.
And I mean, being quarantined for 3 out of 5 months of marriage so far, I can definitely say it was a nice thing to come in having under our belts. But I think something that was very important for me in the dating experience was, really thinking about whether or not you're ready before jumping in. It can be a scary move, at least it was for me. And there were a few times where I thought I was ready. And then I put that into perspective, like, okay, so I'm going to go out now and maybe I'll like this guy and maybe we're going to get married in how many months? I have no idea. Nope, too creepy for me, not doing it yet. Mm-hmm. And I'm proud that I did that, honestly. I think I did myself a huge favor. Probably did the rest of the world a huge favor, too.
No, you're a delight.
Did me a huge favor.
Yeah, that's my biggest thing probably to end off with. Start when you're ready, and when you are ready, give it your all and make it your best.
I like it.
I love how you guys just didn't blame anyone else. Blame Hashem, blame the Shadchan, like we mentioned, blame, your parents, blame other people, and just took, your own responsibility and said, hey, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I feel about dating. I don't necessarily want to date after 2 years, or I think that, I'm ready to get to the next stage within dating. And that's something that's really positive. You just took, you treated yourselves, like the great Jordan Peterson says, you treated yourselves like somebody that you actually cared about. And I think a lot of people can really learn from that. So
you guys had so many nice things to say. I wish you were my mommy and Tati and Shadchan. So
the last one we could work on.
So we'll discuss after. Yona, like you said, don't limit yourself based on what you think or what you might not think. Like, go for some things, take action. I love that, what you said. And Hani, what you said, people look too often to get offended. Yes, you know what? That really enlightened me. Oh, it was Yona. Okay, I want to give you credit for something. Wow, like it was rocking. It's so true. Because like after the date, so he's like, that's how what happened, and I'm like right away negative. But why should I do that? That opened my eyes up. I had that epiphany moment. Smile, like you said. Sometimes smiling at the most inconvenient times for yourself is actually appropriate and will help you. So I love those lines. I love those lines a lot. So, thank you guys so much for coming on. We'll post your information on our page, so people can get your stuff if they want to contact you and all that. And, everyone knows we're at Nobody Talks Shidduchim Podcast, Nobody Talks Podcast at AOL.com. And of course, my ending, as always and usual, is smiley face, happy face, silly face. This is the Nobody Talks Shidduchim Podcast.
The LMNO Broadcast Network.